Brink SPBC. If we provide free, like tonight, what you pay to get in is free, and confidential one-on-one advising and training, like this event, for innovative founders to help you guys access capital to build investable companies. But our main goal overall, to kind of keep peeling back that onion, so what and why, is because we want to help drive economic impact in our community. So we want lively, thriving businesses that are hiring people and generating revenue, and people go shopping, and the windows are boarded up, their windows are open, and a thriving community. And so by you starting a business, you help contribute to that. Okay, so what is SDAC? How many people know what SDAC is? Okay, all right. So San Diego Angel Conference, this is gonna be the 7th year that they put it on. It's a pitch competition where the founders win angel investment, so it's an equity investment. The goal, by doing that, they connect entrepreneurs to investors. So this is really nice, you get to meet investors. And what they do is the goal is to activate accredited investors. So this town has a lot of accredited investors. You can look up the SEC definition. If you had a big job at Qualcomm or Dexcom and you had a nice salary and you didn't blow it on stuff, you probably are an accredited investor, and you could qualify to contribute to sort of this crowdfunding model that SDAC uses. So everybody writes a little check, buys a unit, and then they pool the money and they award that to the winner or winners if there's a lot of money raised. So in the past, the event, the San Diego Angel Conference, was hosted here at the University of San Diego, but next year or this year, it's going to be hosted at San Diego State University. But we're still here at USD, and we're still doing the founder pitch prep. So the pitch prep, we're doing a weekly series of training events. So it's every Wednesday until the last Wednesday in February. And we're going to give you guidance on the pitch deck, prepare you to compete in SDAC or pitch to angels. It doesn't have to be specifically SDAC. And then of course we have free advisory services we want you to take advantage during these courses. You can talk to an advisor afterwards and sort of like, ask questions about the content. Like maybe you didn't understand something or you want to dig into something. We have advisors ready to talk to you now. So I'm the host here of The Brink. We're housed at the University of San Diego. We're specifically in the Canal School of Business. That's this beautiful brand new building. It's about 3 years old. Our offices are right up here. We're really focused on founders with pitch prep training and advisor pairing. San Diego State will be hosting the Angel Conference. That's led by Kathy Butcher. She's the executive director of their entrepreneurship initiatives, and she's really focused on the investors and raising the money. But the money goes to the founders, so that's economic impact. So we're interested in that too. So just a lot of questions coming up. You don't need to attend these sessions to apply to SDAC. There's not a requirement to attend the training. You can just walk up and apply to SDAC. So just make sure that's clear. And you can attend all of these and not apply to SDAC. You just come and, maybe you're like, I never wanted to apply. That's fine. And you can attend as many as you want. You can come and go as you please. The rules are, there are no rules, right? So you come and go. We'd like you to attend them all because it is a cohesive coverage of the pitch deck. All right, so just wanted to give a little bit of a shout out to my great team. Hopefully you met, this is our team, this is it. So you met Stephen Flynn, he's helping check you in. Troy Mones is our junior consultant. He will, if you register for advising services, you'll meet with him and he'll pair you with an advisor. And Erica, who is, and Troy's a second year MBA student, and Erica is a senior undergrad in the School of Business. And she does our marketing, all the things you see on LinkedIn and the emails. She's sick today, so I told her not to come. But she's working like a dog. Everybody's working really hard. When you email our general email, this is it. It doesn't come and go to some vast void. We get it. We know who you guys are. We have a great team of advisors that we really selectively pick to cover different areas of innovation, and then generalists, finance, legal, sales, marketing, tech, biotech. I have 5 more, and that I'm bringing on. Contracting process slower than I would like. center network, the SBDC network for the San Diego Imperial Valley. These are all of our centers. We're hosted by a nonprofit. We hosted by the beautiful campus, University of San Diego, with 100 advisors wide in our network that cover things like loans, government contracting, exporting, marketing, and HR once you get your funding and you hire people. And so collectively as a network, this is the economic impact that I'm talking about. We track it. We have to track it because our grant funders want to know what we did with the money. So when you guys make economic impact, like you start your business, you hire somebody, you create a job, or you generate revenue, or you get capital infusion, as we call it, build an equity or a loan or a grant. And so we track all the advising hours and all the training events, and the number of people who come to the events, which is why, if you haven't already, register your attendance. All right, so you're gonna see this probably from every one of our speakers. CB Insights does a survey of the top 20 reasons why startups fail, and these top 5, sometimes they switch, but I kind of like this one from 2019 because why do they that? Because nobody needed the product. So you spend a lot of time and effort developing your baby, and nobody wanted it. And then you ran out of money trying to fix the problem. So, and we also have something on tape, but it's really important, this is why we have media here, to talk about why you should develop something that people need. Because if they don't need it, they're not gonna buy it. And so the break, we offer services to help you find that product market fit and validate customer need. We have an essential sprint, which takes you through customer discovery. That's when we ask. I can't tell you if your product's bad. I will never tell you if your idea is bad. You talk to your customers and find out if this is something that they need. So that's what our lean essential sprint is. This is our pitch prep workshops. But our bread and butter really is the one-on-one advising, which you can't see. Like, it's not an event you can attend, it's something you attend one-on-one with your advisor. And if you want to see all of our events, that's the QR code. And Stephen will send a follow-up email with everything in it. So if you don't have an advisor already, you can register for advising with this QR code. It's free. It's confidential. So if you're in stealth mode, we don't go blabbing about you. Like we don't talk about you. We can go over your pitch deck. We can listen to you practice and provide feedback and just general problem solving. Yes?
Are these slides available to us afterwards?
Yes, Stephen will send an email.
Thank you.
After this. After the event tonight. You can follow us on LinkedIn so that you can keep up to date. We usually use LinkedIn to broadcast out our events. And so just a review of how this works. Tonight's product market fit is in blue, so that's in person. So we're trying to do every other week, in person and Zoom, in person. And then we kind of tucked in a little guest profile one on 1/27, which is on Monday. But we try to, have several here so we can all get together and chat, and then we'll have some at Zoom so you don't have to drive. But in the end, the pitch decon is going to be, we're going to have the actual investors from SDAC sitting front here, 2 rows, and you guys are going to come up here and do a 1-minute pitch. Who did the 1-minute pitch last year? I mean, you did. Yeah, so you get up, we're down a little line, you get up and you're like, I'm Amy Duncan, I'm the director of The Break. The Break provides free one-on-one advising and training events for innovative founders to build investable companies to generate economic impact. Something like that, but under a minute. And then we go and we vote for the best ones. We do that for like an hour. And then we all vote on the ones we like the best, and the best come back with, they'll do a 3-minute slide presentation to the investors, and they will give them feedback. And then you get to hear it. We all get to learn. It's a safe space, it's learning. But we all get to hear the feedback on it. So it's a really great event, especially because they're the SDAC investors. So keep that in mind. Sylvia's going to talk to you about 1-minute pitch. And then the next night, SDSU is going to host the celebration party. TBD, I'll let you know. As soon as we know about that, we will be blasting it all over LinkedIn. All right. So, I'm cutting into video time. So this is how it works. So right now we're doing break pitch prep for 2 months, and then the application deadline is here at the end of February. Then the iTrack, which is the investor training, runs for 3 months. They usually get about 100 applications. during the month of March in general, they're gonna review all those applications. And they're gonna invite like 25 to come in and pitch during the month of April. And then they're gonna, those 25 will do a 3-minute pitch, and then, they'll vote for 12, who will come and do a 10-minute pitch, and then they vote for 6. And the 6 will come and pitch on stage at the finale. But during May, when all the investors roll up their sleeves, and they do due diligence on those 6 companies. Like they get in to your deal room and look at all your contracts, and you better have everything buttoned up. We'll talk about that in one of our sessions. This is what I just told you. So, this is my final slide. Question?
Can you still apply, even if you weren't part of the pitch reconstruction?
Yeah, you don't have to, you can apply, you don't even have to know that this training series exists, and you can still apply to SDAC. So there's no requirement. It's kind of connected, but it's, it's not required. So, in general, you can Google, like, is it Guy Kawasaki's top 12 pitch deck, or you can ask your AI or Google Gemini, how many slides are in a pitch deck, and what goes on each slide. Actually, that's a good one. You can like, say, write me content for a 12-slide pitch deck for my product. I mean, it's all there for you, and it comes out very nicely. But in general, there's an intro, like a summary. You're going to talk about your problem, your solution. It's going to be tied to the market size. You're going to talk, then the solution is not really the same as your product. We're going to have someone come in and talk about product. It's really going to be, that's going to be Prasad, Sankara in a couple of weeks. Because especially if you're like innovation, you're going to go down a rabbit hole about your product. If he can help you, how do you talk about our product? But the solution is the solution to a big problem in the world. We'll talk about competitive analysis and IP, business models, and how you're going to sell it. You're going to like get salespeople, you're going to go online, you're going to use a distributor, white label. How are you going to market it? What do all the financials look like? Who's on your team? And marketer next week. And then the big ask slide. That's about in general. So, with that, thank you for your attention. We're going to do a little switcheroo here, and I'm going to bring up Vidya. I guess I'll introduce you right now. We'll switch to her laptop. So Vidya Dinamani is a longtime friend of the break. Vidya presented last year, actually. Did anybody see Vidya? She was a Zoom presentation. Did anyone remember Vidya's presentation? It's actually on our YouTube channel, The Break. She presented last year for the series, so by popular demand, we're happy to have her back and in person this time. So Vidya is an investor with Ad Astra Ventures, and she's also known as the product queen. She advises and coaches founders and companies on product and product market. So we are very happy to have Vidya, let's call it the keynote. She really is the lead here to kick off our event. So let's give a warm welcome to Vidya Dinamani.
Thank you. Hey everyone. It's so great to be here with you in person. I think everyone I've done for training has been on Zoom. So I'm like, oh gosh, yes. Let's actually see people. It was working a second ago.
Actually, I'll make a mistake. I'm going to make a little, I forgot to talk about the book. So, yes, if you guys, we got these books donated, and you're like, what does this have to do with entrepreneurship? What does improv have to do with entrepreneurship? And if you look at I'm reading it. I've gotten almost, I think I have a quarter left. But, so this woman is everyone familiar with improv? You ever seen an improv show? Like you get up, and then you get an idea, so there's 4 comedians. And they ask for an idea from the audience. Like, give me a scene, and it's like, you're in a doctor's office. We're like, okay. And then all of a sudden, they have to start creating a scene. So I think improv is a little bit like entrepreneurship. Every day they are creating a product. And they have to be flexible. If you look at the topics of the chapters, you have to be, spontaneous. You have to be present and aware if you're going to be talking to investors in the middle of the pitch. You have to be open and flexible, because you might pivot like they have to do. You have to be taking risks, which I think you already are if you're here. And so I would just say, I don't know if there's any out there, But that's why we have these books, and I hope you enjoy them. And now, it's all yours.
Thank you. Okay, the other thing I want to thank Amy for is putting product market fit first. There's been a lot of these series that I support, and they put product market fit right in the middle. I'm like, oh, you know, you've already started, and I really want to get you right in the beginning. So I know I love seeing so many hands go up for entrepreneurs and starting businesses. This is a way to think about how to get really focused. So I'm going to talk for a little bit, and I have time for questions, but if there's something really burning, just stop me, it's fine. So it's all good. I want you to get value out of this conversation. So I'm going to bring up the slide that Amy had. This is the top 10. And it's very similar. This is 2018 versus 19, but it's exactly the same data. And so you saw the top 5. Here's more. What I want to point out is 7 out of 10 of these are connected to product market fit or the lack of. And so if you start thinking about, like, why do you run out of cash? Is there no market need? Like, someone else out-competed you. All of this is because you failed to solve a meaningful problem for a customer and they didn't pay you. So I'm going to say that if you don't focus on anything else, just focus on this, okay? And I had this interesting conversation. I'm not going to point him out, but an interesting conversation with a gentleman walking up here, and I asked him a leading question, which he will know this in a second, and it points to one of these. So you can talk to me at the end and see if he kind of picks which one it was. Again, I'm not gonna pick on it. Okay. The other unfortunate truth is that it takes a lot longer. So you're in a hurry, you want to move quickly, you want to succeed, but it takes a lot longer. And all the time that you should spend should be on product market fit. Because once you've got that in place, everything else just starts to flow. Okay? So hopefully by the end of this conversation, you will be convinced of this and you'll be doing things a little bit differently. Amy gave me a lovely introduction. What I'll say is I've got tons and tons of time in product. I spent a lot of my career leading product for big companies and then supporting early stage companies through multiple different places in San Diego and around the world. I have advised hundreds and hundreds of companies, so chances are I've seen it's pattern recognition, I've seen something like yours, so if you have a very specific question, just come see me. What I'm going to talk to you about is the keys to building a better product, and then, like, how do you achieve delight? Because that's really the key. It's not just to have a nice product, but people love your product. They want it, and they're willing to go that extra mile in order to be able to get it, whether that's taking products with some bugs in it, whether it's taking something that hasn't all the features, because you're not actually even going to finish it for another year. All of the stuff, they will forgive you if they really, really want your product. That's why delight is so important. And then we've got a little choose your own adventure. I've got an example, but if you really want to do it for yourself, we can have sort of 5 minutes where you just sort of think about your own product, which I think is more fun, so we'll see how we're doing on time. Okay, right, so let's start with the kind of customer feedback that we're all looking for. And these are real customer quotes from real products that I'm going to share with you. Things like, thank you for making it simple. I'll never have a home without one, right? Brilliant, brilliant type of feedback. This has been a lifesaver. So let's see the products behind these 3. I'm going to tell you about 2 consumer and 1 B2B. So if you've got something else, again, I wanted something that was accessible, products that we all could relate to. But if you have something different and you're like, well, how does this relate to me? Again, let's just talk about it. So the first one is this little camera. This is now, I think, a Series D, and people love this product. I want you to notice in these customer quotes how often the word love comes up. You don't say that. Think about the products that you use. How many products do you say, I love this product? You tell people. It's a handful, right? But these customers love these products. So this little Wise camera, it's $20. It's really small. It's super easy to install. I'm going to give you a little bit of their early stage story. They're huge now, but they started off as a really small company. The next one is EcoMe. Does anyone have one of these? Yeah, do you love it?
I do love it.
There you go. This one, I think they just sold to Amazon a couple of years ago. So they did beautifully. They came out of Canada. They were privately funded. And then again, there's that word love. And it competed head to head with Nest, which is a pretty, like, you know, when you think about like introducing new products, Google is not usually the first place that you compete against. They did, they won. So that's a really great story. I'll tell you a little bit more about them. And the last one is B2B, it's Gusto. I use Gusto. It is a small business HR and payroll provider. Super easy to use, and what it does is it strips down the functionality that we just need as really small businesses. So when you get a couple of employees, I will recommend this every single time. Again, there's the word love in here. And I used to work for Intuit, which has payroll, so this is a big deal for me to say, go use somebody else. Okay, so what do they have in common? These three products that people love, there's three things they have in common. The first is they got super clear on one problem to solve when they started. Now that's really important because they now solve multiple problems for multiple customers, but they were really specific to begin with. So let's take a look at the first one, which is EcoMe, the temperature. What they wanted to do was to solve a very specific problem that you have hot zones and cold zones, often in the same room, below the same house. They were like, that's the fundamental problem with temperatures. Anyone can set a temperature in a house, but how do you make it comfortable no matter where you go? That's the problem they're going after. It's not an easy one to solve. That's the problem that they decided to tackle. The next is they got super clear on a customer. Now for many of you, you want to solve for everybody. You can see how your product can actually impact so many different lives, and of course you want to get as big a market as possible. So anytime, this is my red flag, if you tell me it solves for everybody, as an investor, I would say that's my first turn off. Don't ever say that to an investor. Don't ever say I can solve for everybody. You want to be so specific because then the investor understands that you've understood the market and you're really clear on where to start. That means I want to put my money towards you because you're going to spend it wisely instead of trying to spray and try and get everybody. Okay? So, what did Gusto do? Gusto now, like businesses like mine, use it. But where they started was mom and pop shops. Now, if you think about mom and pop shops, they're tiny. They might have 1 or 2 employees. And they don't have time to go out recruiting. They don't have time to go find new people. They don't have time to do any of that. They just got to run the business. Every minute of the day is running their business. So, what they really care about is keeping their employees loyal and keeping them really close. So you know what Gusto did? They have a feature that no other payroll provider would ever give you. They have, in every payslip, there's a little feature that says, do you want to write a personal note? Now, when's the last time you got a personal note with your paycheck, right? Doesn't happen. But for Gusto, it was really important because they could thank the person, and every time they got a paycheck, it could be recognizing something they did over the last couple of weeks. It could be a birthday, a celebration, an event. But how special is that? Now, ADP is never going to give you, with thousands of employees, let's write a little personal note to everybody. Gusto did. It was a delighter. People loved that product, but no one else would have it. Why did they do it? They knew their customers so well, they knew this feature would absolutely resonate. The last thing is a little tricky. What you want to do when you start think about different segments and different customer groups, you want to pair what the needs are to a specific customer. What's really easy to do, like when you have a product, is you want to build features that solve for a lot of people. Even if you focus, you're like, oh, I can do these 3 segments, so I'm going to pick the common denominator. That's the worst thing that you can do. Don't ever do the common denominator, because what it means is that it's not going to work delightfully for any one person. What you want to do is you want to clearly specify who am I going to delight And then you can figure out your roadmap. How do I get other people and more segments? You want to delight one customer, one group of customers. Okay, so the example here is Wise. You can think about security cameras, and you can think all of us potentially have a need for a security camera. Houses, apartments, whatever. What Wise did when they first came out, I'm telling you early stage stories right now. When they first started, they thought, we don't want to spend money, we don't have the money to have customer support, account management, people kind of ringing and supporting. We don't have time for people to install, because security systems are expensive and big. If I'm going to sell my device for $20, I'm going to have it so it's minimal interaction with me, the company. So what they did was they first went out to DIY people who loved tinkering, who would install this little camera, and they loved data. They knew them, they're the kind of geeks of sort of the camera world. They put these up. It's not a very nice interface. It's certainly not sexy. They didn't put a lot of money into the customer experience, but it didn't matter because they knew their customer just cared about price and doing it themselves. So you know what they did? They had no customer support. They had no installation people, had none of that. They just sold these off the shelf, and people like this bought it, because now suddenly there was a product that suited them, that wasn't hundreds of dollars, it was $20 and they could do it. It was a delight. Are you convinced? 3 stories? Okay. If you know me, Amy and Sylvia are probably laughing. I'm the last person to talk about sports analogies, but I love this quote because it's really about fundamentals. So many people kind of jump to sexy stuff and doing lots of features and building beautiful marketing plans and so forth. You will eventually get to your pitch deck, but I would really ask you, focus on the fundamental, which is find that one problem for a customer that you can solve beautifully and they're willing to pay for it. That's it. Now, having said that, it's a really freaking hard thing to do, so let's talk about what it looks like when it doesn't happen. If you're in a business right now, and it feels hard, it's probably because you're kind of swirling around some of these problems. These problems exist for early stage, and they also exist, we work with Fortune 50, Fortune 5 companies. It's exactly the same thing. It doesn't change. The bigger you get, the more complex you get, it doesn't change. So if you as a founder can focus right now and instill this habit, you've built a better company than 90% of those ones that are out there. So what does it feel like? The first thing is really how to say no to stuff. Like advisors, people are always going to tell you what to do. Investors, your friends, your customers, like you name it. You tell someone a product, they go, I've got a good idea for you. And it's really hard because you can too. I mean, you're an entrepreneur because you love ideas. You're going to be like, that's a good idea. How do you say no? You say no, like for Gusto, when they come up with features, they're like, my mom and pop shop would never want that. That's how you say no. You put your customer in the center and you know who your customer is. You've got way too much to do. Again, common problem. As an investor, if I take a look at this and you've got enough work for the next 2 years and that's what you want money for, a team, like, well, you haven't made a decision, you haven't made trade-offs, you haven't focused. So, another warning sign. Some of our teams are constantly arguing, whether that's with your co-founder, whether that's with customers, whether that's with maybe your development person saying, hey, we could do X, Y, and Z. There's a lot of debates happening. And then, you know, what happens is you keep changing your mind, which is never fun. It's not fun for your team, and it's not fun for you. But you're like, you change your mind maybe every couple of weeks, every month, maybe every quarter. Another sign that you're not focused. And then finally, when you are in the market, you get feedback from your customers. This is the worst one, I think, because your customers are telling you it's not working. So, what do? I'm taking you down far enough. Let's talk about how we achieve delight, okay? So, I just like this. We kind of like hacked it, but like this whole miracle occurs. There's a better way. We can make it work. I'm going to give you a little background to the theory. We wrote a book. We've got 3 pillars and 3 practices. I'm not going to go through all of this. I just wanted to tell you, I'm going to focus on the convergent problem statement, which is how you focus on a problem. we have an actionable persona, and we have needs, all those three things that I talked about. And then the practices are like, how do you think in hypotheses? How do you learn really, really fast? For us, it's making a decision in an hour a week of talking to your customers. You should be able to make product decisions. No fancy studies, not a ton of money, not outsourcing it. You're making a decision talking to your customers. And then finally is how do you get alignment with your team, with your investor, with your board, etc. So if you want this, I bought one book. If you're going to ask me like a really cool question, I'll give you my book. Now, we're going to just talk about the problem, because this is a problem market fit. That's what we're going to talk about. How do you articulate that customer problem? Now, the reason why it's so important to talk about this from a convergent point of view, as entrepreneurs, and every one of you in this room, you're full of ideas. It's really hard to start a business. Being an entrepreneur is really hard. And so you're full of ideas, and there's full of things coming at you. And what happens when that occurs is that we talk the language of solutions, right? We're talking in terms of like, here's the things that we can build, whether it's technology or devices, whatever that looks like. We talk about solutions, and that translates to features. So everyone that we listen to is talking about features. I want you to talk about what's the problem your customer is having. What's the challenge that you are dealing with? And that's the first thing I want you to tell your investors in the pitch deck. State the problem. Because once you get an investor excited about the problem, they're going to go with you for the ride. Because they're like, oh, I recognize that problem. You can argue about solutions, you can argue about features, you can be like, why did you do it that way? But if you've got a compelling story about this is the challenge, this is a customer problem, it's really hard for people to argue with that because you've got evidence. When you do that, it's never one problem. Your customer's going to have a lot. And your goal is to tell us why you picked one specific problem to focus on. Why you're the right person, why you can do this, and why this is the right problem for this customer that you know so well. That's what you do to get to product market fit. So, I'll tell you a little story. Let's just build this out for the temperature. So you can see how this might work in sort of a typical environment. So this is our thermostat, like one that, I think I had in my home a few years ago before they all got replaced. But pretty standard, right? Lots of buttons, I have no idea what it does. And I don't know how to set this thing. I never knew how to set this thing. Now I've got this wonderful device on my phone that is beautiful. But that's what a lot of homes have. So if you're a company, but let's pretend that we were Ecobee, and we said, let's build a better one. It's often where it starts, right? You've got a shitty experience, you're like, I'm going to do something better. And maybe it went something like this. Maybe the conversation they had with their team went something like, there's no really good home temperature systems that are easy to use, so we're going to make it a lot easier, right? It's simple, so people actually know what these buttons do. It's going to have simple bold numbers, so it's going to look attractive. It's going to be a beautiful customer device. We want it to look great. And we want it to be modern. We want people to be able to control the temperatures with their smartphones. We're going to make it an IoT device. So it's going to be very relevant to where we are today. Everyone agree that's a pretty reasonable sort of like place to start? You've stated the problem, it looks pretty reasonable, it's like, let's do these things. Well, a company did just that. Not Ecobee, someone else. This is what it looks like. It looks pretty attractive, comes in two colors, it's pretty simple, like black and white. It's got simple bold numbers, it's IoT enabled, and they launched it to the market. And this is what happened. This is what customers said. These are not the comments that you want to hear. There's no love in here. It's basically, this thing does not work. I don't like this. They're probably going to return the device. So why? Why did this happen? If you take a look at what I just showed you, I just gave you 3 features. I didn't tell you the challenge. I didn't tell you the problem. I just told you, let's make it look good, let's make it easy, and let's make it connect to the internet. Did the customer say any of those things? No. No, that was all features, that's what we wanted to build, and that's what most companies and teams do. They jump from an understanding in their heads to this is what we're going to build. So, what does it look like if we focus on problems? The first thing that you have to do is that you've got to know your customer. And what we advise is that you've got to watch your customer. There's nothing like observing them. We did a lot of this work back in 2020, remotely. So you don't have to be in front of your customer. There's many ways that you can explore and watch them and understand them remotely, but you have to observe. Because once you do, these are the kinds of problems that you can maybe start hearing. I'm spending a lot of money on energy. My head is inefficient. The defaults just don't work. You know, shouldn't the temperature just match? Why am I having to set this thing anyway? I can't even read the display. My schedule changes day to day, so my heating needs to. Some days I'm working from home, some days I'm not. It's not always consistent. And if we listen to all of these different problems, one actually came up, and this is what Ecobee focused on. It's never the right temperature in my home. I'm tired of, I'm upstairs, you know, my spouse, my kid, whatever, is downstairs, it's just different temperatures. That's the problem. They were like, this is a really fundamental problem that nobody has solved before. So, here is a different way of stating the problem. I'm going to read this to you. Homeowners have multiple cold and hot zones in their house. They find it annoying and confusing figuring out how to set temperatures in zones automatically, so they're constantly changing the temperature manually. Now what you'll notice in here is there's a really specific problem. I'm sharing some emotion, I'm telling you the frustration that people have, I'm telling you why. Why is this happening? And nowhere here is there a solution. There's nothing. There's nothing about what I'm going to build. There's nothing about what I'm going to do. There's no features. There's no solutions. That's a problem. Once you have that, now you can start exploring solutions. You can go broad and start discovering, but you can't go anywhere without this. So many teams, and even early stage teams that we work with, the first thing we do with their team is we get every single person to write a problem statement. In my experience of doing this for like 10 plus years, I've not once had one team that's come up with the same problem. And that is whether you're an early stage company with 5 people, or you're a Fortune 50 company and we've got 500 product people spread across the globe every single time. Nobody does this. And which is why we come up with all these different ideas and different solutions. So we have a team. Oh, let me just tell you about Ecobee. How do they solve this? It's brilliant. Once they understood the problem and they specified it and they tested this with their customers, and the customers really like, yeah, this is the problem and it's something I'm willing to pay for. They put a beautiful device. Their device is gorgeous. I mean, it's very attractive. It's IoT, but they also created these. I don't know if there's a laser on this thing. They also created these tiny little mini devices, and you put them around your home. So the kit, depending on the size of your home, comes with these. And what it does is it constantly is triangulating the temperature. So you're not sitting in the hallway, right, and measuring the temperature where the thermostat is. It doesn't matter. What matters is where people actually are. And so the temperature is right no matter where I go, it feels right where I am. That is a game changer. That's why Amazon bought them. Okay, so I want to challenge you. Do you really know, could you write the customer problem that you're solving for? Or are you thinking, this is the solution, these are the features, this is what I'm going to build? Can you strip your solution out of it? And that is the key. You need to write the problem as if your product didn't exist. It's got to be a problem that exists independently. Okay? Okay, so here's the choose your adventure. Do you guys want to try and do it yourselves for a few minutes? Or do you want me to just take you to an example that you can play along? Hands up if you want to do your own. Everyone wants to do the example. Okay, alright, no worries. here's the template. I know it's kind of intimidating. It's okay. Here's the template. And I'm going to give you access. I'll give you a QR code where you can grab this. It looks complicated, but it's not. It's just breaking down step by step what you need to be able to answer. The first is who. Who's the person? Not a segment, not women between the ages of 30 and 50, not everyone who has X problem, really specific. If you're a B2B, what's the job title? Are you looking for a controller? Not just a generic finance person. A CFO is different from controller, is different from an account manager, different from an accountant. All of these people have a very different perspective. So who is it? What are they trying to do? What is it actually trying to achieve? How are they trying to feel as a result of it? What's getting in the way? What are the barriers? And then when is it happening? And why? That's really important. Like, why is this happening? So this is what we want to cover in this template. Okay, so I'm going to tell you a story, and I want you to play along. I want you to, and then I'm going to ask a couple of people just to tell me what this is. And you don't have to follow exactly the template, but I want you to listen to the story, and I want you to tell me what the problem was. This is a true story. So this really large, multinational, fast food manufacturer that starts with M had this problem. And they had this range of milkshakes that this is going back a little ways now. They had a range of milkshakes. They introduced them, and it was growing nicely, and then it just plateaued. Like, no matter what they did, they threw promotions, they threw coupons, they threw a huge amount of money in advertising. Didn't change. Did not change. So they reached out to this gentleman called Clayton Christensen. He's a Harvard professor, amazing. He wrote The Innovator's Dilemma. Again, highly recommended. It's a bit dated again, but I just think the concepts in there are so powerful. So they reached out to him and they said, can you come and actually help us figure out what's going on? So Clayton and his team came in and sat themselves, and they spent the entire day there. And I'll tell you one observation that they had, which is a surprise. Early in the morning, around sort of 5:30, 6 a.m., these people were coming in and buying milkshakes. And it was really weird, because it's like, why would you buy a milkshake that early in the morning? And it was not that many people, but it kind of aroused their curiosity. So they asked to follow them. They got in their cars, and they sat there, and they understood like what these people were doing. And they thought about why they were actually getting these milkshakes. Now, Clayton has this whole theory around jobs to be done, which again, is probably getting a little theoretical, but if you're curious and this resonates with you, it's a great place to go, because it really focuses on what people are trying to achieve. So, and you gave you a few like high-level facts, but I want you to give me, like, I'm going to give you a minute, and then I just want you to see if anyone is brave enough to tell me what you think this might be. Why, first thing in the morning, were people getting milkshakes and getting into their car? Why? Yeah?
They want to enjoy when they stuck in the traffic.
They want to enjoy it when they're stuck in traffic?
Yeah.
I love that. Go ahead.
They want to eat it early in the morning so they can hopefully burn it off before going to bed at night.
I love it. It's like, I love my milkshakes, I'm going to burn this off before I go to bed. Love it.
They'd actually been out all night and were getting a milkshake before they went to bed or something like that. Like whatever was already a lost night, let's get a milkshake.
Nice. I thought it could either be it's a lost night, or it could be a night where we could come back home, getting a milkshake anyway. Great.
They don't have enough time, breakfast on the go.
Yeah.
They can keep eating breakfast and go.
Love it. Breakfast on the go. They keep going. Yeah. One more.
They use it as a meal replacement.
Meal replacement. Love it. Okay. So many good ideas. So many good hypotheses. This is actually what they discovered. Road warriors, so people who are on the road for like an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours to get to their jobs, commuters, had really long commutes, and it was just like, it's boring, right? It's really boring, but they need to eat breakfast. and they can't be starving when they get to work. But like, when you're on the road and like you're a little bit nicer dressed, I think we've all been in the car where you've spilled something. You can't do that. You can't eat breakfast with one hand and pay attention to the road. Just hard. Maybe once or twice you get away with it, but we've all had our issues, right? So they don't want to make a mess. However, every morning they need to have something that sustains them, and I think I'm hearing some of the people that talked about this. And traditional breakfast foods are just hard to eat with one hand. So they use milkshakes. Now, what do you think the fast food company did with this information? What do you think they might have done?
They made coffee or a replacement for the shakes that they could enjoy on the way to work.
No, what do they do to improve milkshake sales? Now they know this.
They made frappuccinos.
They put coffee in it. I love it.
Maybe they made it more comfortable to hold.
They changed the cup sort of dimensions. Great.
They made it healthier, more nutritious for the user.
Yeah, they were thinking like breakfast. Let's make it more nutritious. One more.
They changed their advertising.
Yeah. Again, you caught so many things. Now that they know this, they can target people, right? They change your advertising, like this is a new product. They introduce healthy new products. Instead of chocolate, strawberry, and vanilla, now you've got fruit flavored. They widened the straw because they knew that they wanted to take even longer, and they introduced tiny little bits of fruit. So now you've got mouthfeel. Like, you don't want to just suck the straw, you want to chew. So now they've got little bits of fruit in there. What do you think happened to the milkshake sales? Spiked. Knew that job, knew the customer, knew what they needed to do. Now you can get your product and you can really nail down what product market fit looks like. That was just one piece. They had another couple of discoveries in different parts of the day. Another one was with moms bringing their kids after school. And what they did for those is they made them smaller and cuter, added sort of cartoon characters. And like, you've got little toys, right? Many of us who've got kids. I mean, they just made it really compelling that now the kids, all they wanted to do, and it was also not the giant 500 calorie thing, but they know a little snack size one, which they didn't make any cheaper, by the way. So what happened? Spiked profit. So this is what happens when you really identify what problem am I solving. Then you can go crazy with the solutions. You can test them. They can test the flavors, they can test the frappuccino, they can test the fruit, but they're all solving the same problem. So that's what I really want for you. Okay, so I think, we've got time for questions, yeah.
Thank you for taking my question. My name is Jessie. I am the founder and CEO of a company called Twerk. And what my question is what if you know your customer, you know what their problem is, you know how to solve it, but it's gonna take so much work. Is it advisable to build an MVP that's kind of like a stage en route to the ultimate product that will solve that problem?
Yes, it is. Without knowing what your product and the customer is, sometimes it's years. Your ultimate, like this is what the fully fledged product will look like. But if you can get the most annoying, the hardest issue, and you can create an MVP, your customers are going to jump to you and they're going to stay with you because they know that you're about to solve the problem that they really, really care about. So yes, the key is how do you stage that and how do you stay focused, because it's be really easy to, again, go broad, but don't do a big bang. Do an MVP, do little pieces, and pick the biggest problem.
Thank you.
Can I share just something from experience? When you say we know how to solve it, just from our own experience, you'll be surprised how much you don't know until you start delivering product and you get feedback. So it's actually advisable to deliver crap. I don't mean crap really, but you're never gonna be satisfied with what you're gonna deliver. So just ship something, and when you start getting real product feedback, that's the best, and you're gonna be blown away. So the things that you assumed, they're actually not true.
I love that. Thank you.
So I'm going to put a little proviso on that, which is don't ship crap. Ship in a way that you are still proud of it, but make it really small. Because what I don't really like is when companies ship and they try and do a lot, and they go, it's not very good experience, but I'm doing 5 different things. Do one thing, do it beautifully, but make it really tiny, just to kind of get that feedback.
Thank you.
I want to follow up on this conversation here. There are some products and markets where there is a significant overhead. If you want to make an accessory that's compliant with the standards,
Yeah.
you have to put a lot of overhead before you get something.
Mm-hmm.
Or if it's a medical device,
Mhm.
you have the regulators that you need to check off so many. All of that adds to the overhead. Back to her question,
not
how do
necessarily.
you
Yeah.
develop this notion
Yeah.
of minimum viable
Yeah.
product
I think
when you have so much overhead?
So I'm going to actually point out Kate, who's in the middle, right there, cool heads. She's a portfolio company of ours, and we worked with her when it was just an idea. What she does is has a device for cancer patients who go chemotherapy to save your hair. Now, she's now 5 years later. She's got FDA approval. It's going to be an incredible. She's at all these amazing cancer centers. However, where did we start? We started with a prototype she put together with neoprene. We started with a prototype that she had a suitcase that we would drag because we didn't have the parts, we didn't have the overhead, we had no money to build anything. I remember sitting with her in tests where we had customers come in and just sit there and tell us about the experience and then just see what it felt like to do something themselves. So every piece of this is what do you need to prove in order for you to take the next step. If you need to build that entire platform, she would have had to raise probably like a couple $1 million in the beginning. She raised maybe like a couple $100. And that's where she got to the next step and the next step and so forth. So those types of large investment needs, what you can do is break it down, prototype it, MVP it without building any of the technology. It's the same thing for a consumer product when you put up your webpage and your product doesn't exist and you see, can I sell it? Just do that. If you really have a great idea and you think it's really important to build, it costs you nothing to put up a site and just to start actually talking about it as if it existed. In the same way, when it's hardware products, what we want to do is we want to build it with the cheapest materials possible. We want to see how it fits. We want to keep moving. It took 2 years to move those prototypes before she actually got a product that would work. But she got investors along the way because she proved it, she had customer feedback, and she got people excited about it. That's how you build in these really tiny increments when you need a platform. I love that question. Thank you.
So first of all, thank you for calling me. But I agree with everything you said. You're dead on everything. One of the most frustrating things is even when you have the answer or when you have a solution or you answer some of these questions, a big frustrating part of all this and being an entrepreneur in the startup world is like you still get pushback like constantly for your thesis, and then you have to prove it, and then you prove it, and you showed that picture of I forget the name, the thermostat one, and it's beautiful. It's like, oh, look what they came up with. It's like, well, how much did it cost to get to that, right? Like, and so how you prove it along the way, and I don't know, it's more and more just venting, because every single thing that you put up there, it's like, yeah, that makes sense. But in my head, and maybe it's PTSD from doing all these pitches and doing everything, it's like, oh yeah, a thermostat, like, are you gonna replace like a blanket or a jacket? Like, for the product I'm building, people are like, well, what about this? What about that? And this thing, and there's so many different things.
Fair, and I don't know your exact solution, but and again, I'm just going by patterns, not for your specific example. Most of the time, it's because people haven't bought into the problem. When you push back, it's because you don't really believe it or there isn't evidence for it. So I would go back to the story you're telling, the customer testimonials that you have, and why it's so compelling that this is a big problem to solve. Because what you want the investor to buy into is that it's a really big problem. You don't want them to buy into your solution because that's going to change 100 times before you're done. You're gonna learn. You're gonna change. Nothing that I've ever invested in is ever what I first put my money into.
Yeah.
It looks 100% different every single time, but the problem didn't change. There's small pivots, but no one. I mean, that's what you trust. That's what you believe. So I would say it's about telling the story and making the problem so compelling that they understand, and then they're not arguing with you. Now, you know when you've got people, when they're like, oh my God, have you thought about this for the solution? I know someone who needs this, or I heard about this. They're helping you think about the future.
Yeah.
They're not pushing back on the problem. If you've got people pushing back on the problem,
Those people aren't necessarily the people that actually have bought into it, and we already have customers, and that's great. But it's more the advisors, even through the brink, which is fine. Like, you want people to poke holes in it, and like building some resilience in all of that.
Yeah.
But, and sorry, I'm not trying to treat this like a therapy session, but yeah, like this is it's just
find the advisors that really resonate. I mean, there's a million advisors, and what you want is people who understand the problem and are really wanting to go with you on the ride.
well. And so the point of, if you have something and the challenge that you're facing and what you're doing is so specific and so vivid, like this is the challenge, I know it, I know that, and this, and they go, well, what about the market size? Can it do these other things for other things? And I'm like,
that's fair. You push back. And
that's where I'm like, yeah, maybe later, but that's what I'm doing.
That's exactly. It's yes and. That's a fantastic idea. This is why we're focused here.
Yeah.
This is how I built out my business model. This is how I built out the finances. This is how we're going to start. I love that, and this is why we're starting in this small. So anyway,
Thank you.
So I'm sorry, we ran out of time. What we do? Oh, brilliant. Anyone else? Let's give me permission. I can stay here forever. Sylvia knows this. Go ahead.
Yeah, if you're looking at founding something in the biotech space where your product may not be necessarily direct to consumer, your target customer may be a large pharmaceutical company with other resources and your asset through clinical trials, something like that. How do you modify this approach to meet that different same strategy?
Exactly the same strategy. We've had multiple biotech firms that we have invested in. And what you're looking for is how big a problem you're trying to solve. Sometimes they're much, much bigger problems, right? They're going after either an alternative to trials or eventually get sold to big pharma. But fundamentally, why is this such a big problem? And it could be secondhand from a B2B or a biotech. The problem that you're solving for a company is ultimately supporting maybe the researcher or the doctor or the patient. And so you need to tell two problems. So that's where it gets a bit more complicated. But that is true for any B2B, is why is it important for the user and why is it important for the buyer? So you are creating two problem statements, and as you weave your story together, you're sharing how those are connected in order to make a really compelling problem. Not only is it a problem for the person who is supporting and buying this, but it's also a problem for the end user, patient, doctor, whatever it is. So two problem statements. Yeah.
That's a great question, thank you. It's already thinking of your answer. Can you extend that to 3 problem statements or 5 problem statements? Because some problems there's just not 2 stories to be told.
Yeah.
There's more than 2 to be told, and cleverly connecting them.
Maybe. I would say it's unusual to have more than 3 for an early stage company, because sometimes you have a big influencer or you have someone in the ecosystem that is also connected to this problem space. What you don't want to do is you want to complicate the lines. Root down, you will have multiple problems with any single user. You've got to pick which problem you're solving. In your ecosystem, if you've got a buyer and a user, you might have one more. Like it might be, for example, I'll give you insurance companies as a great example, where you have the end user, you also have the manager, and then you have the procurement person. 3 different problems. You have to understand those, because even if you get through 2 of them, the 3rd might be a showstopper. So that's the story you've got to triangulate. But it's unusual to have more than that.
So I have a product that goes business to business to consumer, so it goes through retail channels. And I'm very confident knowing who the consumer is and what their problem is. How important do you think it is to educate the buyer, who is the business or retailer, on what that end consumer's need is versus, you know, the person actually purchasing the product is the retailer, and is it solving their problem or educating on the end user's problem?
So I wouldn't use the word educating. What you want is such a deep familiarity with your end consumer that that's woven into the story that you tell. So they trust you. So you're not saying, let me tell you about your customer, not that you would, but what you're doing is you're talking about why they should buy your product, and inside that is why the benefits for their end consumer are so apparent that without you being like super hit them on the head, they know that you're an expert there. So what would you do? I would have testimonials. I would have, you know, here are the customers I've talked to. Here's the research that I've done, but this is how it helps you. So it's all about them. It's not about the user. It's about your deep knowledge here is helping them be more successful. Okay. Last one.
Hi there, my name is Abigail Jones. I'm a mentor for...
Can you yell?
Yeah, I will definitely yell.
Thank you.
It's a chance for me to project my voice. Thank you. I'm a mentor for the Start Food program and others in town. And one thing that stuck out to me is how you said you need to not only hear what customers have to say, but watch what they do, because those are often two very different things. And I was curious if you have any recommendations. A lot of students that I mentor get stuck, especially talking to customers. Do you recommend that they incentivize those people that they want to talk to, or find places where they can meet them at where they already are, their borrowing goals?
Yeah.
And then in terms of watching them, a lot of folks aren't trained in observational data collection. Do you have any resources for that?
Great questions. First of all, let me try and break them into the three different categories. The first is, like, do you incentivize? A lot of time when you're a startup, you've got zero money. I think, no, you don't need to. I mean, you just need to be able to sort of say, but make it like 5-10 minutes of their time. You can't take an hour of someone's time and make it research and not say thank you some way. But 10 minutes, most people are willing to give you 10 minutes, especially if you say who you're doing and what you're doing. Go to where they are. I was working, there's a large healthcare system in San Diego, and we really wanted to talk to providers. But you can't go to a medical office. I'll never talk to you there. So what we found there's continuing research they always had to go to. So we set up a little table at the continuing research. We got there early. I think we had like cupcakes, right? And so people would stop. I mean, doctors, totally not eat sugar, but they eat sugar. So they would stop by and they'd have a cupcake and we'd talk to them for 10 minutes. So go to where they are. Like, just think about sort of like the number of times I've gone to Starbucks and just hung out, and you kind of look and see if there's a prototype. One of the companies that we supported, they were working with a gym, so we hung out outside of the local gym and just talked to people, like sweaty and, you know, exhausted when they came out. It's a great time to go, hey, can I give you 10 minutes? And, you know, give them a bottle of water that costs you 10 cents at Costco. Those are the kinds of things that you want to do. And the last step is, if you're not a researcher, you're not observational by training, what do? Like, well, if you download, there's instructive research techniques, but honestly, you know what you're doing. Trust yourself, and then don't put words in their mouth. Watch, have a hypothesis, which is why I showed you groundwork to begin with. Like, really have a clear hypothesis in your mind about what you expect the behavior to be, and then does their behavior support it or negate it? If you go in with a point of view, it's so much easier to use observational research. You don't have to be a researcher, you just have to know what you're looking for. If you just go in and you've got no idea what you're trying to prove, then you're going to be confused because there's going to be a lot of signals. But if you're like, for example, I go into the thermostat and I think it's all about, I'm making this up, the size of the temperature, the size of the numbers on there. And I'm like, you know what, that's what matters the most. And I'm watching and I'm asking questions, and nothing about this is about nothing to do with numbers. I know that that's not a problem. So that's kind of where you want to start. Have a point of view, then go watch someone and see if it confirms or negates it. You can download all the templates there. You can reach me here. And I will just leave you with another Michael Jordan. My daughter goes to UNC, so I throw this up there all the time. I think that's probably why. Get the fundamentals down, level everything you do, will rise. Thank you so much.